hilarious. Okay, so this is why I'm all like a little bit weird right now. It's always hilarious to me that the topic that I'm going to talk about usually shows up in my life right before I'm going to do a talk about it, which adds a whole other layer of imposter syndrome to the mix. If you can relate to having a hard time showing up. So today's talk is about showing up, right? It's about showing up despite of criticism, showing up with confidence, overcoming that fear of what showing up even means for you and how it really affects you. And so today, of course, it is 10 minutes after when I wanted to come on. And you know what I was doing for the last 10 minutes? Because I'm a pretty punctual person, actually. The last 10 minutes, I've been sitting here stalling because I was afraid to show up. It always hits, just so I have like a little bit of a real taste of what I'm about to talk about right before I get up and talk about it. So what was going through my mind before I showed up to this live today was there's so much riding on this talk here. What if I don't do it right? What if nobody shows up to the talk? What if nobody watches it? What if they watch it and decide that I'm off my rocker and they want nothing to do with me? It's all of these very perfectionist, very shame-based thoughts of, if I don't do it right, then people won't X, Y, Z. You can fill in the blank for yourself. People won't love me. People won't accept me. People won't listen to me. People won't buy from me. Whatever the if-then statement is will show you exactly where your shame is. So perfectionism loves to make you stuck. It loves to make you not do anything so that you can avoid the feelings of shame if and when you mess up. And what we have to remember, how I talked and coached myself through the last 10 minutes of getting up and doing the thing and showing my face here, was talking through to myself everything I'm about to talk to you about. I have notes right here I want to share with you. And I was stalling. I was like, I need water. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to put on lipstick now. I need to find the right non-filter, which I didn't find. I was trying to find a blurry background filter. Couldn't find it. Wasting time. Like, I'm just wasting time. Not showing up punctually, which is actually a value of mine. So we'll get into that in a minute. And so I am doing all these things, thinking that if I just do them, then I won't have to show up here, or that I can be late and whatever. It doesn't matter if I'm late. Well, it does matter to me. And so overcoming this idea of perfectionism, this idea of shame, this underlying deep identity that I suck, essentially, which we'll get into that in a little bit. All of those things are what's riding under the surface when you don't want to show up. Okay, so what does showing up even mean? Let's get that baseline down so we're all on the same page. Showing up means not to hide oneself. It's so simple, but it is literally meaning I am not going to hide today. I'm not going to hide today. Okay, what does that mean? To me, it means I'm going to get up in spite of, just like how I've pinned this, in spite of criticism, in spite of feeling like I'm going to screw up. I'm going to get up in spite of all of these feelings I have. I am going to do what's right for me, what's best for me. And that is to show up in the world. Because how am I ever going to get to where I want to go if I don't show up? That has to be your ultimate, like, why almost when showing up in the world, is that those things have to kind of trump everything else that is really, really driving your bus in that moment. It may be your inner child that is just screaming, like, no, don't make me get up in front of people because they're going to hurt me. Let's just keep hiding. Let's just keep hiding. Hiding is safe. And I posted somebody else's reel today, if you go back into my stories, about he covered himself in bubble wrap, and it was a kind of like a joke, like, hey, if you don't want to ever get hurt again, don't ever show up. And like, that was like, you know, a joke to say, like, you kind of have to. You kind of have to be willing to get up and even to get hurt. And in order to be the person that you know you've always wanted to be, but you've been having a really hard time accessing. Okay, so now we know, what does it mean to show up? It means I'm not going to hide myself today. Cool. What is the main ingredient that you need to not hide yourself today? The main ingredient you need, don't shut me off once I say it because I'm gonna explain it, because people don't like this word. The main ingredient you need is resilience. Okay, so resilience. What is it? What is it not? Because that is actually going to help you define what resilience means to you, and it's going to help you get over your resistance to the word when you have a clear definition. So our clear definition that we're going to work with today within this call here is resilience is not clawing your way up a mountain. Resilience is not, oh, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. And your hands are bloody and you're battered down and you just can't take it anymore. That's exhausting. Resilience is never exhausting. Here's why. Because resilience is a reservoir of strength. I'm going to read this to you right from Alchemize Your Vibe. Resilience is a reservoir of strength and resourcefulness that allows you to access your power in order to live with the daily punches of life. Okay, let me read that faster. Resilience is a reservoir of strength and resourcefulness that allows you to access your power in order to take the punches of life. Because what we cannot escape are punches. Life is constantly a series of punches. Not always, but the series is always there. And sometimes you get a reprieve. Sometimes you win, right? Life is, by definition, hard. And that's not to say like we should all give up. It's just the reality of the situation. And so when you can bring all of these heady concepts down into reality, they actually start to make sense. You can start to actually live life without all this resistance because they finally landed in you somewhere and it makes sense. So the reality of life is that there will always be punches. There will always be something coming at you. And the reason why we don't sign up for programs that we know we need or do the thing we need to do is because we're afraid we aren't going to be able to know how to handle the situation when it occurs, the harder situation. So we just stop doing everything. I know that I have not signed up for, I ended up signing up for them because my resilience always wins, but I'm a cockroach. But I know that I've dragged out things I know I've needed. Even if it's going to the doctor, I've dragged out doing what I needed to do. For, God knows whatever reason I did it for, but I've dragged it out and I needed to do it only because I was afraid I couldn't handle what's on the other side. Go to the doctor, maybe something bad's going to happen. So I avoid the doctor, right? This is all avoidance that we're dealing with. And that's not to shame you because it's actually literally everybody. Everybody has this. And only the smart people will overcome it because they are the ones that are resilient enough to continue on. That's why they say businesses fail, and all of these things do fail, and do all these, things stop. It's because the resilience reservoir has depleted. Okay, so by definition, resilience is sustainable because it's simply an access point to your own power. Your power is the thing that powers you up or empowers you. So if your resilience is simply a doorway or a reservoir or some sort of access point to your own power so that you can handle the punches, by definition, that's actually a sustainable thing. It's not climbing up a mountain. It's not killing yourself and exhausting yourself. That's unsustainable. That's not resilience. That is, I don't know what that is. What do you call that? Just like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And when you can find your access point to your resilience is the moment you are able to continue to not hide yourself, aka show up. So you don't just automatically are gifted resilience. You actually have to learn it. You have to build the muscle. And what's within building that muscle is what we're going to talk about here. So why do we hide? What are some reasons that we hide? Because when we start to, like I said, define things and put clear words behind them, things start to land differently in our perception of our own reality, in our perception of our own emotions and feelings. Clear words with the proper, I'm going to get woo-woo for a second, with the proper vibration to the thing you are feeling changes. It's the first point of alchemy. It changes everything. When you can accurately name and define things you are feeling and thinking, it changes everything. So just like I said, resilience is one of those things. If you are thinking resilience is something it's not, you're never going to want to be resilient. But when you learn that it's simply just a reservoir or an access point to your own power, then it's not scary anymore. Then it actually has a definition within you that you can compartmentalize and put things in. That is kind of the point of alchemy, actually, in my world, is to separate all these bits and pieces out, clearly define them, which is to purify them, and then put them all back together. Like, we are never trying to get rid of parts of ourselves or who we are in order to, excavate and throw away, let's say, our ego. That is the most damaging thing that you can do. We want to bring it all in because it all is you. Every single time you try to throw away something, you are throwing away a piece of you, and you are telling your subconscious that you are not lovable because one part of you want to throw away. The point of all of this is to define and learn and reintegrate all of these things back into us because they are us. And when we own them, they don't have any more control over us and they become our power. That is the point. So why do we hide? A lot of the times we have a belief we can't handle, whatever it is, probably in this case, criticism, constant criticism. We can't handle attacks. A lot of people that come into my world feel attacked on a regular basis by people in their life. Doesn't need to be violent attacks, but they just feel like they're always under some kind of attack by somebody or hated by somebody. I know I used to hide because I literally thought everybody hated me. Even people on the street. I wouldn't even want to walk, with people on the street, meeting their eyes, because I just felt like they hated me already. And so I would just hide. And I felt like my existence was like a waste of space. And that everybody just by the look of me hated me. So we also hide because of a fear of not being good enough. Like, I didn't do enough, I can't be enough, so I'm never gonna win, so I might as well not even try. Being judged, another reason why we hide. So there's a lot of shame-based stuff going on inside of the reason why we hide. Okay, so now I want you to take that into your awareness for a second and think about how that resonates with you. Do you hide for a different reason? Do you hide for some of those reasons? Can you name some of them right now? Maybe grab a notebook, write that down. Maybe start to, this is what it feels like to open up your subconscious. It's not scary. It is a series of gentle inquiries that get you where you want to go. It's the name shadow work is so scary in and of itself. Nobody wants to do it. But it's really just about, I'm taking you on a journey backwards. We are deconstructing things with gentle inquiry, and then we're going to put it back together with love. What is scary about that? Nothing. It's seriously so simple and easy. Okay, so you take on, why do I hide? Right, okay, so it's a belief of some sort. What happens when we hide? What are some of the things, I need that light back on, hang on. I need that, it's extra dark in my house. Okay, why do we hide? We hide, what happens when we hide? That's where I was. Okay, so we want to talk about the consequences of hiding, of not showing up. We're talking about losing touch with our creativity. That is one thing that happens to us when we stop showing up as our fullest self. Imagine you don't show up because you are different than other people, and you know it. You know, like it's apparent. That's me. Like I know that. You don't show up because you're woo-woo, and people in your life don't get on with that. You can not show up for many, many reasons, but when you don't show up with your fullest self, or the fullest self that you have access to in this moment, because we're never completely our fullest self. It is a continual unfolding and becoming. So who you are right now, are you showing up fully as the person you are right now? And for most people, the answer is no, because again, they don't know what to do when they come up against a quote punch, right? We'll go with the woo-woo thing. We're woo-woo and people in our lives are religious, or they just don't understand. They have some judgments about it. We're not showing up as our fullest embodiment of ourself because we don't want to deal with people who misunderstand us. So there's a wound of misunderstanding, and the resilience isn't taking over precedence of the misunderstanding. We all want to be loved, and we all want to belong. So we stop being who we are in order for that to happen. It's actually kind of a form of manipulation if you think about it. And not all manipulation is bad. And it's just a way to think about how you try to control your environment, control your situation, so that you get that love and belonging. That's usually at the bottom of many, many, many of our motivations as a human. Is this thing that I do going to give me love and belonging, or is it going to get me shunned? It's an innate need that we have growing up, evolving from a more tribal atmosphere. The tribe protected you. And if you weren't like them and you did something they didn't like, they would shun you. And we do that so much in our culture today, even though we don't live in tribes anymore in that way. It's a part of our human needs to be loved and belonged. So we end up, when we don't show up as our fullest woo-woo self, we end up losing our creativity, because a lot of our creativity comes from being exactly who we are. We lose our drive, our motivation. We start shrinking. Like literally with energy, we just start to crawl back into ourselves. If you're into astrology, you basically lose touch with your Mars. Your drive, your desires, your action, how you go about getting something becomes less and less and less the more you basically betray yourself in order to fit in order to not have to deal with something hard. So we end up then getting numb because we're not being our fullest self. We get stuck because we don't know what else to do, and we become confused. Okay, so think about the consequences of not showing up as your fullest self. Now you may be thinking, Nick, I don't even know who I am. How am I supposed to show up with resilience? That is, I'm going to clap for you right now, because that is one of the deepest questions that you can come up with right now from what I'm talking about. And honestly, that's why I do things like astrology, because it does help you learn who you are so you can start to show up as yourself. And then after we go through, the people that come into my world go through Alchemize Your Vibe, they learn how to show up with boundaries so that you're not bearing all of yourself to the wrong people. That's the key, guys, is showing up as your fullest self to the right people. Showing up as your boundaried self, but still in touch with your whole self, to not safe people. That's the difference. It's very, very simple. I'm not teaching anything that is new in this world, because nothing is new, but I am putting it together in a way where one thing builds off the other, and you can eventually show up as your fullest self without the shame, without the fear of criticism, knowing what to do when life punches you, knowing what to do when someone criticizes you, knowing how to have those boundaries, and still staying in touch with who you are and your inner creativity. That's also the main point of a lot of this, is like not losing yourself. My hair is getting wilder and wilder as we go. I had it all curled before, and now it's just like, I don't know, maybe my witchy hair is coming out, who knows. Okay. Ooh, what was that? All right. it's no, not even gonna say it. Okay. So we're losing all of these things when we lose touch with ourselves, when we hide. Okay, so we've gotten this far. All right, well, why are we like this? Here's another thing that we want to talk about. We don't do blame in Alchemize Your Vibe, except for in one very, very short piece of it, because part of that is a healthy thing to do for yourself. But we need to know why on a conceptual level. Where does this come from? Let's say it like that. It comes from a place of lack of self-worth. It comes from a place of shame. Now, the one thing I'll say about this is lack of self-worth and shame, you're not born that way. You're not born with those things. People give those to you. They are gifts you didn't want, but if you can alchemize them, they turn into actual gifts. But they didn't come from you. You are not born with shame, and you are not born with low self-esteem. Okay, I have more to say about that, but we'll just keep on track here. When you know the origins of your patterns, then the patterns can change. So you do not ever have to go into blaming people, because that just kind of keeps you stuck in a victim type of stance. There's always one person here and one person here, and you're always the one down here. But knowing the origins helps change the patterns. It goes along with knowing the definitions, also helps change the patterns. Having clear ideas of what these things are helps change the pattern. So our shame and our lack of self-worth, perfectionism as well, as I talked about at the beginning, I need to do more. I need to be better. I can't show up until ... happens, and those dots never happen. When I'm rich enough, when I'm secure enough, when I've learned enough, whatever it is that you are ashamed of, it will never be enough, because you're trying to tell yourself, hey, I keep telling myself I'm not enough here. Maybe I have a self-worth thing that we need to talk about. That's the next stage of this. Where does our lack of resilience, come from? I want to back up for a second, because I want to make sure this is clear. What happens when we hide are all of those things we deactivate, basically. We just deactivate as a human. Where does this come from? It comes from lack of self-worth and shame and a lack of resilience. When you don't have any resilience, you're going to just keep hiding, right? It's this vicious cycle. It's the cycle people tell me I don't know how to get unstuck. This is the cycle they're in. This not having enough resilience, but knowing they need to do something, but don't have enough resilience because they're afraid of what they're going to meet. And they just keep on going around and around. They're like, I've done everything. Why isn't my life working? It's this right here. So our lack of resilience, where does that come from? This is where it gets deep. This is where it might hurt a little. So center yourself. Take this with a grain of salt, because it may not be you. Let me know if you're having issues with it, because I have a hard rule that I do not break anybody without putting them back together. So if this breaks you in some way, please let me know. But first, work with it, journal on it, see if this fits even, see what you can do for yourself with your own new resilience that you found. But where does our lack of resilience come from? It comes from setting ourselves up to fail, take on too much. We self-sabotage. We do all these things because if we fail, it will reinforce the identity that I'm a failure. Our identities are the deepest driver of our behaviors, which create our reality. And if you have a lack of resilience, lack of self-worth, it's honestly coming from a place of believing you're a failure. For me, I believed I was a loser. It was the word loser. That was the energetic match for me. Failure didn't make sense to me. It was loser. As in, I am not a winner. That type of loser. I am not a winner. I will always be a loser. I will always be the second runner-up. I will always be the one that doesn't take home the spoils. That was my belief. That was where my negative self-worth came from. And so when we don't have this lack of resistance, we start setting ourselves up to fail in order to reinforce the belief of who we are, who we think we are. Again, that is not something that you gave yourself. That's the other hard part of this. It's not something you did to yourself. Somebody gave it to you. It doesn't matter who, doesn't matter how in this instance. It just matters that you can consciously shine that light on that shadow inside of you and go, holy shit, I've believed I was a loser. I believed I was a not winner. I believed I was a failure. And I've been doing so many things to reinforce that. And if that is a part of you, it may not click right now. But as the week goes on, you may go, oh shit. You start seeing all these things in your life because you've shined just enough light on it for it to grow a little, for it to be seen, for you to do your magic on. Your lack of resilience comes in a form of low faith. low faith in yourself. And all this just keeps coming back around to low self-esteem. Low self-esteem, low self-worth. And this, my friends, is why affirmations don't work. Because of this deep, I'm pointing to my notes here, we go like deep identity. Your deepest parts of you that you believe you are don't match. So this part down here doesn't match what's coming out up here or coming out from your brain. I am worthy, I am rich, all the affirmations, right? They don't work because the identity is stuck in there and it's not a helpful identity. And that all that means is it's something to uncover, something to rewire, something to alchemize and turn into something else. It's not scary. We just have to find it and be with someone who's not going to break you and like put you back together if you start, losing your mind. And not that you're going to lose your mind, but that's the point of AYV, right? Is it takes you through this series of ways to alchemize those deepest parts of you without leaving broken, without leaving wide open and raw for the world to beat on you. That is the opposite of what I do. We bring everything back in with love. So when we have an identity, this may be about showing up, this may be whatever problem you're having. Chances are there's some kind of identity that's deep below that you didn't necessarily give yourself, but you reinforced over time because it was the thing that got you belonging and love from somebody else outside of you. Sometimes people do that to other people to keep them caught in the loop of you need me to reinforce to you, so you need to keep acting and behaving in a way where I'm going to continue to give you love and reinforce the whole cycle. That's the stuckness cycle when it comes with other people, when it comes to other people. So you will do anything to prove, let's keep this loser thing going, remember this was very specific to being a not winner. And I'm saying that because I know a lot of people have this. When you are a not winner, when you're a loser or not winner, sometimes you won't move on in life because you don't want to leave others behind. And it's very, very compassionate and very sweet, but there's something in there where if you were to leave this dysfunctional thing that's happening here, you're also leaving your siblings behind, or you're leaving your friends behind, or you're leaving someone that you wish would come with you back here. This happens a lot with money. Some people who want to expand beyond their current socioeconomic status have the ability to, but won't because they are tied to not abandoning the people or something that's still in that system of the old socioeconomic status. And in our minds, it's black or white. We leave and we'll never see them again. It is energetic, it's not physical. So a lot of the times people won't leave because they feel like they're leaving, they're abandoning some things that they care about. And if they started to win, then winning becomes lonely. If you are not a loser and you are a winner, you are the one on the pedestal. And what happens to the person on the pedestal? They're seen. They are not hiding. So can you see how you're fulfilling this entire thing out? Because even if you're not aware of it, something inside of you has played this out to the very end. Like if if I'm seen, then I have to abandon people. And if I abandon people and I become a winner, then I will be seen. And I don't know how to deal with being seen, so I'm just going to keep being here. And what I want to say about this as well, this might ring a bell with someone. Most people who feel this way, all they want is confidence. They just want more confidence. They want confidence to get out there and be the person and do the thing and live the life that they want and do it without being invulnerable is really what they're looking to be, which is impossible. So it's a whole other thing. But confidence in and of itself is the absence of the loser identity. So if you continue to unawarely, it's not a word, but I'm going to use it. If you continue to unawarely hold on to the identity of being a not winner, loser, you can't be confident. Because confidence is the absence of that. You can do things, you can be brave and do things. Bravery has like a twinge of stupidity added to it. It's different than courage. You can be brave and just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. That's not confidence. That's just being wily. Which can work. It works for people. But eventually it catches up to them. That they get to a place of so much shininess and brightness from their bravery that they don't know how to handle it and they sink back down. It's kind of like when people win the lottery and all of a sudden they become poor again. You don't have the capacity to hold it because you're not using your resilience and your self-worth to be up there winning. You are using your bravery, which is unsustainable. So, how do I turn this loser identity around? So I think by identifying this and by labeling and properly wording this, that helps a lot. Because honestly, alchemy has a life of its own. All you have to do is shine the light. It does the rest of the work by itself. It is in charge of what it alchemizes or turns from one thing to another. That's the definition of magic. That's the definition of alchemy. Taking one thing and turning it into something else without adding or subtracting from it. You're just changing and transforming it. So that alchemy has a life of its own. So when you shine the light on, oh shit, I don't have any confidence. Oh shit, I do feel like I'll never win in this life. Oh shit, like I don't show up because I'm afraid of that I can't handle when something hard happens. That's all you need sometimes. Because the next time you go to hide, you will be aware of it and you can make a better choice. And if you take Alchemize Your Vibe, you'll have a whole set of tools at your disposal when it comes time to show up and you need a tool. You can pull it out of your tool chest and be like, okay, this is what I need right now. It's like being in a video game and you having that like rucksack of like all your little tools. That's Alchemize Your Vibe. You can move on from this live and be fine. Maybe you don't need tools. Maybe you just needed to hear this and that was it. That's great. And if you need the tools, I think many of us do, we don't learn them because our parents never learned them and their parents never learned them. The problem of the patriarchy really lies here in this, like not teaching people how to be human, how to be resilient, how to be a winner, how to have confidence and self-worth. The whole point of the patriarchy is to break people down. The point of Alchemize Your Vibe is to pull them back together so that they can work themselves back up. So by labeling, you are going to rid yourself of loser identity. Other things you can do is set out a list of like, I don't know, 10 values. I can't handle my hair right now. It's so crazy. It is not what I did to it this morning. Okay, 10 values. You can do more, but it gets really overwhelming if you do more than 10. Because once you start looking at a list of values, you're like, oh my God, I have all these, you know? But try to take like the values that are yours, not someone else's. So if your family wants you to value family, but you're not really a person that values family, there's no shame in that. You might value truth over just blanket family. Now, if your family likes truth, cool, you can get along. If your family doesn't like truth, there's no point, right? This isn't the same, you don't have the same values. Pick values that are yours and let freedom be one of those. Freedom is a big topic. We won't get into all of it, but if you don't have freedom, you don't have the freedom to have values. It's a very important value. Put all your values down on a piece of paper, and for the next week, only act in accordance to those. Now you'll mess up, right? Values are a practice. They're not a hard and fast rule. But start living toward them. Start acting toward your values. And watch how things start to change. You will come up against people that don't agree with you. Do you have the resilience to keep going? Do you need a tool? Do you need another tool that will help you move through when there is a clash in values with you and someone you love? Or you and your government, or you and your household, or your neighborhood, or whatever it is. This is how we get along with other people. This is how we move forward. This is how we find our friends, because our friends will have similar values. So if you are lonely, which oftentimes people who think they're a loser are, values will help that, because you'll find other people who have those values. And chances are, side note, if you feel like you're a loser, you won't even be able to see that other people don't believe that about you. It is a filter. And that is a part of what we do in Alchemize Your Vibe, is to clear all these filters up so you can actually see reality. Real, objective reality. Not the reality that's only reinforcing the idea that I'm a loser. And you can substitute any word in there that fits for you. You know, it doesn't have to be that kind of a label, but that was my label, so I'm using that as an example. It's also really, really hard on this whole filter note to be grateful if you have these feelings about yourself. And gratitude is the thing that helps make law of attraction work, right? And you can't be grateful if you can't see that there's something to be grateful for. Filters, right? Like the filters are so dirty that you can't actually see in your periphery anything to be grateful for, because everything sucks. Nothing ever works, right? That is one of the main things people tell me when they join Alchemize Your Vibe, is they say literally, nothing ever works. That can mean so many things, and it's a very unspecific term, but it's what people say to me. No matter what I do, nothing works. In fact, Pernilla, she was one of the very first people to go through Alchemize Your Vibe with me. I have her statement up here, and it's so poignant to me. I was struggling with the belief that I should be able to do more and be better, especially in a measured, masculine way. But I felt like no matter what I did, it never worked out for me. No matter what I did, it never worked. That hurts my heart, because I understand that feeling. No matter what coach, what mentor, what program or online course I invested in, I never felt like I had the big breakthrough and glory moment you always read about in the reviews. I felt like manifesting was something everyone talked about, but it only worked for me occasionally. Doing AYV, I had small but very big light bulb moments. Moments where many parts of my journey, beliefs, and patterns got very clear to me and fell into place where I could accept, embrace, and allow myself to become. Things ended up working out for her. Things started to work. She got her big ticket glory breakthrough moment by letting herself have all the small ones that happen as you go through the 12 weeks with me. So let's see, is there anything else I want to say? No, I don't think so. I covered my notes. I want to make sure this was helpful for people, so let me see if there's any other practical things we can do here. I keep getting the idea of defining success right now. And this may help you. This may help you settle some things in your brain. So, if you have this low self-esteem, you feel like you're a not winner, you feel like you're a loser, you feel like you're a failure, or you'll just never be whatever it is, right? Whatever somebody wanted you to be or whatever you wanted to be. All low self-worth stuff that keep you from showing up. If you feel like that, then you're not going to feel successful. So let me define success in this very simple way to help all this stuff land for you. Success is simply getting what you want. That's success. Now, you won't always get everything you want, but you have to feel like you have enough agency to go after the thing that you want, and enough healthy hope to hope that you could get it done. Disempowered hope is a different thing. That's where you're hoping something happens without doing anything about it, or having any power in the situation to do anything about it. So success is getting what you want. That means, by definition, failure is not getting what you want. That is not an identity. That is just a circumstance. One that I guarantee you've gotten yourself through before. Not getting what you want. I'm sure you've been told no before, and you've gotten through it. That didn't end the story. It just shifted you into a new form of success. Getting something else you wanted. Now, setting yourself up to fail, if you have a failure identity, you will constantly never get what you want. Nothing will work out for you. It's just like all of the people that come in to Alchemize Your Vibe tell me. Nothing ever works for me. Because there is a reinforcing of failure over and over again. So what we need to do is actually take the definition I gave you of success and look for some places where it actually happened. Even if it is, this is my random example I give all the time, but I don't know why, but I'll just keep going with it. I wanted an apple for lunch. An apple for lunch is a little weird because it's not a full meal, but sometimes you just want what you want. And I moved hell or high water to get myself that apple for lunch. I gave that to me. I succeeded because I got what I wanted. And although that is a stupid example, I say it's stupid because I like to add a little humor into these things, it's a really silly example. But if you do that enough times during the day, you'll start to reinforce a different identity. And you do that day after day after day, and then you'll start to be able to be grateful because you'll be able to actually see things that you could be grateful for. Not something you should be grateful for, that you hear your mother's voice in your head like, I gave you this, you should be grateful. That's not gratitude. That's why a lot of us can't feel gratitude, because it comes with critical voice. True gratitude is essentially finding the beauty in something and being able to see it. And so maybe if you think you're a loser, nobody understands you, but you just can't see that there are people that understand you because you don't want to see it, because it doesn't reinforce your identity. And so whether or not loser is your identity, it doesn't matter. You can start looking for things that reinforce something you don't want to be happening anymore, which is nothing ever working out for me is something you don't want happening anymore. So what you can do is continue to find success stories, even if they are silly and stupid. In my words, not yours. They're silly and like basic or small. It doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter. They don't have to be big things. That's the beauty of it, is that this becomes easy. I wanted something and I went out and got it. And then come up with a couple of bigger ones. Okay, we're moving on from Apple. We're gonna go for like, okay, one time I got a job I wanted. I wanted a job, I went out and got it. I went out and applied for it. I actually got it. I was a success. I was a success. That is an identity. Anytime you say I in front of anything, it becomes your identity. So start, instead of fakely doing it where you're saying, I am rich and I am all your affirmations, don't do that. Look for real times that you are a success. And that will change everything. And if you need help gathering more tools on how to keep your boundaries straight, or how to have conversations with your inner child when they are running your life and you don't know it, how to forgive in real life, how to surrender, how to actually add in the divine feminine into your life, and using it in a practical way to alchemize all of these beliefs and thought patterns and negative identities that you hold, come join Alchemize Your Vibe. It starts next week. It starts on it starts next week. Tomorrow is the last day to sign up for it, Tuesday. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope this was helpful to you. And I hope to see you in, because I am on a mission to rewind and erase the patriarchy in every single person. So it's a big ticket goal I have. So I love you. I will see you soon. And thanks for joining me.